Welcome to the Gruber Company's Artificial Future Podcast. I'm Pete Gruber. The image behind me is, again, an AI-generated image, but this one's a little bit different. We had traditionally been using Midjourney for our images, and whenever I asked for anything related to artificial intelligence, 95% of the time, the image was female, whether it was a female cyborg, a female robot, and usually sinister, dark, red eyes, half skull, wires hanging out of the side of the head. And I could never get anything that really represented a safe and, comforting, benevolent image like this one. So we just found out that this week, apparently, ChatGPT-4 is now combined with DALL-E, which is also an image-generating AI software. And we began to use that for images, and remarkably, we're finding substantial differences between the two. We find that DALL-E combined with ChatGPT-4 renders the images with text, for example. Midjourney is not a large language model, so it always had trouble with any kind of lettering. We would ask it, for example, give us a Tesla Gigafactory, with a sign out front. And Tesla was misspelled sideways. It was way too many letters. It was gibberish, basically. When I did the same thing with DALL-E with ChatGPT 4, it actually spelled out Tesla. We had a background yesterday that I asked for a news studio, and it said global news in one of the signs behind. The other thing I like about this new ChatGPT 4 capability is I asked for a benevolent AI image, something that showed that AI is safe, it can work with humanity, and this is what it generated. So I was impressed enough with it to actually put it as a background today.
That was this one that we're showing now. That's how you got it. You said benevolent background.
Correct. Yep.
Nice.
Exactly. We have that in the thumbnail as well, which is actually the theme today. We're going to, later on in the podcast, spend a lot of time talking about negating some of the doomsayers, which are some very notable people. I find that this topic is very polarized. You have, very influential, famous, seemingly knowledgeable people like Elon Musk, for example, that really have a doomsayer type view on where AI can take us and the dangers related. So later on, we'll talk about that. I've even asked AI to weigh in on some of this fear, doubt, and uncertainty. And I think it'll be educational and revealing what it came up with. So first thing I wanted to cover with you, if you have any questions, by the way, feel free to ask them. Let us know where you're coming in from. We appreciate our audience. We're streaming on a number of platforms, so it's always nice to know what part of the world you're coming in from. The definition of GPT in ChatGPT, I had to look this up myself. GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. And the definition is that it's a type of artificial intelligence that's designed for understanding and generating human-like text. So let's break down the definition. Generative. This means that the model is capable of generating text, not just analyzing or understanding it. It can produce coherent and contextually relevant text based on the input it receives. Pre-trained. So the model has been trained on a large data set before it is fine-tuned for specific tasks. This pre-training involves learning from a vast amount of text data, which helps the model understand language patterns, grammar, and context. The final portion, transformer, this refers to the specific type of neural network architecture used by GPT. The transformer architecture is particularly effective in natural language processing tasks. It's known for its ability to handle long-range dependencies in text, meaning it can understand context from sentences or paragraphs that are far apart in the text. So it has a great deal of memory as well. The various versions of GPT, like GPT-2, GPT-3, and 4, and so on, represent improvements in scaling up of the model in terms of size of the neural network and the amount of training data used. These advancements have in turn led to increasingly sophisticated language understanding and generation capabilities. There was a great video with Sam Altman that I viewed this week, and he reminded us that you can program GPT just by having a conversation. And we've proven this. It remembers what you asked for a half an hour ago. You can tell it, let's bring that into this current topic. And it actually, you can have a conversation with it. So what Sam was saying is that natural language is going to be a big part of how computers are used in the future. No more typing, for example. You'll actually be able to talk to machines, just like we do to fellow human beings. That's going to be pretty exciting. All right. Now, let's go. Oh, we've got a few questions here. It looks like Niels is joining us. Good morning, Niels from Denmark. The spacecrafter is sending us or spacecrafteers is sending us a smiley face. And then Mike Corkery from Worthington, Iowa, going up to 64 degrees. Iowa loves Teslas. Nice. That's right. You guys are heading toward winter now, aren't you? All right. So one of AI's godfathers, Geoffrey Hinton, who is definitely a doomsayer at this point in time, is weighing in on, again, the dangers of AI with some rebuttals by Jan LeCun, who actually was one of his students, it turns out, and Joshua Bengius. Now, Geoffrey may be the AI godfather who helped develop the technology that powers an array of chatbots. And Geoffrey Hinton can't help but ponder if we'd be better off if the technology never existed. He worked for Google, by the way, for a while and then quit because of the dangers that he felt. His fears were laid bare in a recent New Yorker profile, where he answered questions about AI in general by saying, "It's not unreasonable to say we'd be better off without this. It's not worth it." He added, "Just as we might have been better off without fossil fuels. We'd have been far more primitive, but it may not have been worth the risks." So it's not just AI that he was weighing in on. And I can't imagine what the world would be like if we didn't explore and exploit fossil fuels. I think a large part of the Industrial Revolution had to do with those advances, going from horse and buggy to steam engine and eventually to internal combustion engine cars. They served a useful purpose. So they say, while Hinton's fears are almost certainly genuine, the godlike qualities that AI doomsayers project onto the technology also risk overemphasizing its significance at a pivotal moment. They say that the language around extinction fears is vague, and this is my biggest problem with the doomsayers. There is no how or why. There's typically just a broad statement that it's dangerous, it can annihilate mankind, and no one ever really ponders why. Why would superintelligence be interested in killing things? It seems that is within the domain of humans, and not very bright humans. Remember that the most violent humans are typically the most uneducated. So those who espouse AI's extinction risks, they say, have also faced criticism for shifting the focus away from the more urgent threats posed by technology, paralyzing constructive debate and allowing big tech to control the AI industry, which is another one of my concerns. You know, it seems like that something this technologically advanced should be, as Elon originally decided, should be open. It should be open AI, rather than the domain or the property of large corporations that have the financial wherewithal to pour billions into it and then control it and monetize it. We've got some questions coming in. Spacecrafteer says, so if I talk 7 languages at the same time, it will understand me? Yes. You can multiply that 7 times hundreds. There are virtually no limitations with artificial intelligence. We'll talk later about the demands on data centers that is now beginning to become a problem. And I'm close to that because my last 10 years at Digital Equipment were as a designer for large computer rooms, cooling, access floor, cabling, clean power, those types of things. And it looks like the current computing needs are so advanced that some of these old methods of keeping a computer functioning are no longer valid. R.C. Robinson-san says, Pete, did you see the EPA is having an EV video challenge on why EVs are good? No, I did not see that. That's an interesting concept. For those of you interested, I would recommend looking into that. So it's the EPA is having an EV video challenge. Okay. All right, so continuing here, Jeffrey Hinton also expressed similar concerns before he had quit his job at Google to speak openly about the risks of the technology he helped create. But not all his fellow godfathers agree with him. Jan LeCun, who won the Turing Prize alongside Hinton in 2018, also appears briefly in the New Yorker profile of Hinton, the article. He says, I'm not scared of AI. I think it will be relatively easy to design them so that their objectives will align with ours. Now, the two have publicly blasted each other on social media recently, with LeCun sharing a tweet that mocked AI's alarmists and called Hinton an ultra-leftist, world-class eccentric. All right, there you have it. Now, creating a fear of the unknown. Before we get there, we've got some questions streaming in. Spacecrafters, language evolves over time as humans decide to capsulate a meaning to a word they agree upon. Absolutely correct. My mother-in-law still calls the refrigerator a Frigidaire. That's a brand. But anyway, that has become, and I'm sure there are others that you guys can think of. Nowadays, to Google something, that was a foreign term 30 years ago. Can you guys think of any others?
Of words?
Yeah, that have become part of our lexicon.
Is it like
that didn't
Kleenex
exist.
or something?
Yeah, that could be another one. But I think the point that R.C. Robinson makes is that language evolves over time.
That's spacecraft years.
Spacecraft years. Yeah, there we go. So what happens if robots do that too? Can we understand them? Well, it seems to me that AI, being as broad and as intelligent as it is and eventually perceptive, is going to be able to dial in the person that they're talking to and quickly assess what the most effective means of communication is, not just, syntax and context, but also language. Here we go. EV Fan says, once we integrate with them, yes. And that is also coming. Augmentation. We talk about that often. Later on in this podcast, I've got something for you that is mounted on eyeglasses. Again, an augmentation that is going to give us something we've never had before. Neil says, yeah, Xerox it. There you go. There's another term that has become commonplace. Spacecrafteers, Durex, Wayne Levitt, Hoover. Okay. Used to be a vacuum cleaner company. All right, so creating a fear of the unknown. AI has a black box problem, they say, meaning that it's one of the first technologies that even its inventors don't fully understand. Now remember, in times past, when they found the phenomena, it was the inventors or the researchers' project then to identify what it means and what applications could come out of that. It turns out AI has taken a different turn here in that it's beginning to confuse the original people that were helping create this. They say while Hinton and Meta's chief AI scientist LeCun have butted heads, fellow collaborators and third AI godfather Joshua Bengino has stressed that this unknown is the real issue. By the way, that was Joshua Bengio. And those are the three pictures. You can throw those up, Jesse. It's called Doomsayers, the image. And you'll get to see what these guys look like. Um, LeCun will be on the left, Hinton is in the middle, and Bengio is on the right. So Yan and others are making claims that this is not a problem, but he doesn't know. Nobody knows, Joshua Bengio says. He's a Canadian computer scientist and a deep learning pioneer. I think it's dangerous, he says, to make these claims without any strong evidence that it can't happen. Well, I think it's equally as irresponsible to make claims without any substantiated proof that it can happen. But anyway, that's where we differ, I suppose. There's a very general sub-goal that helps with almost all goals to get more control, he told the New Yorker. The research question is, how do you prevent them from ever wanting to take control? Well, I have an answer to that. Why? And later on in the podcast, we're going to talk about attempting to apply human traits and predictions to something super intelligent. With humans, almost certainly. Why? Because of ego needs, because they're on a power trip. But those are all weak, emotional, or they're emotion weaknesses that are within the human domain. I can't imagine a super intelligent machine, caving into anything like this. I've got a bunch of stuff for you later on, so hang tight. Hinton says that is none the wiser about how to mitigate the issues he foresees either. Unlike climate change, he doesn't see a clear scientific solution. So what we have right now is a lot of fear, doubt, and uncertainty, even with some of the experts. All right, so moving along here, Wayne Levitt, we've got that already. He was saying Hoover is one of those terms. Now, did you know that Elon may go to Russia? There's a conference on AI, and it is happening this year. It doesn't give the month yet, but they say that he will take part in a conference on AI. And the details are, according to the publication, it doesn't say which one. Musk's participation in the Russian conference on AI may be related to Musk's recent announcement of xAI's Grok neural network. So, again, Elon is in the limelight with yet another AI tool, which will become a competitor to ChatGPT. Now, according to sources of Your Reporter, EUR, a reporter, they say Musk will participate in the event as a speaker. At the same time, the publication does not specify whether Musk will fly to the Russian Federation to attend the conference in person or speak in an online format. Researchers from India and China and other countries are also planning to speak at the conference, according to Your Reporter. That'll be an interesting session. Definitely worth watching. All right, Cornell researchers have created a new kind of wearable device that can read your lips. Here's another image we want to bring up, Jesse. And this is the sonar image. So even though this pair of sunglasses does not have a camera, it is equipped with sonar and artificial intelligence. And it's a fairly normal-looking pair of glasses. It becomes capable of recognizing lip and mouth movements to execute up to 31 commands without the user needing to make a peep and without needing to say anything. They say they're very excited about the system because it really pushes the field forward on performance and privacy, which is another problem. If it had cameras, there would be some privacy concerns. According to Cheng Zhang, an assistant professor of information of science at Cornell, it's a small, low-powered, and privacy-sensitive set of glasses which has all the features for deploying new wearable technologies in the real world. So there will be more of these. And we talk about augmentation often. How will we combine and become cyborgs eventually? And it'll be product like this. Even the exoskeletons, which will give us superhuman strength to augment our standard muscle strength. So they say this is straight out of sci-fi. Developed a Cornell Smart Computer Interface for Future Interactions, or Sci-Fi Lab. These glasses are called Echo Speak, and it can control a smartphone and interface with software operating them by mouth commands. So rather than cameras with all their size, power, privacy problems, the glasses are a minuscule speaker to bathe the face in sonar. That sonar signal is picked up by microphones, and then it is fed into a sci-fi designed deep learning algorithm, which determines and then recognizes your movements or your mouth movements. This is reminiscent of bats. Remember, they send out a sonar signal, bounces back, it's perceived, invisible, basically. They say that we notice that facial movements, especially lip movements, are highly informative for silent speak recognition. This is according to Rudong Zhang, an information science doctoral student and lead author of the Echo Speak paper. There's a YouTube video on this, by the way. For those of you interested, look up Echo Speak on YouTube, and you'll probably get a great video on this topic. It has 2 speakers and 2 microphones that are attached to the bottom of either side of the glasses frame. The silent sonar waves bounce off the lips in various directions to the microphones, which then pick up various changes in shape for the AI to evaluate. Now, you might say, how accurate is something like this? They're getting 95% accuracy with this method. They say that users need to train Echo Speak before it can work, but the glasses can pick up commands within minutes. In the YouTube video, they learned 8 commands for a music player with less than 2 minutes of training. In less than 5 minutes of training, the glasses were capable of recognizing random strings of numbers spoken without stop. Now, the other application for something like this is people that can't vocalize. And so this would help in that scenario as well. Again, augmentation. So they say that ditching the cameras for the Cornell team, relying on cameras for silent speech recognition poses a number of problems. Aside from the impracticability of constantly wearing one, they're big and heavy, they say cameras open up a host of privacy concerns for both their users and the people around them. In addition to not potentially filming everyone around you, the sonar data used by Echo Speech is considerably smaller than the image of video data, which then allows it to be processed and sent directly to a smartphone via Bluetooth in real time. Interesting. All right. And they say, finally, because the data is processed locally on your smartphone instead of uploaded to the cloud, privacy-sensitive information never leaves your control. Okay.
So going back to those glasses, how heavy do you think those things will be? I mean, it doesn't take much to weigh down sunglasses. I mean, I have a pair of fishing glasses that are actual glass.
Right.
And by the end of the day, within 4 hours, I can still feel it on the bridge. I couldn't imagine having all those electronics on there just weighing your head or your face down.
Based on the picture that I see, it looks like a small circuit board with very tiny surface mount components. So I'm not sure. The other thing, if you look at those glasses, those are your typical heavy nerd glasses. And if you were to reduce them to something like this, like a frameless glass, or sunglasses or whatever, it would probably offset some of that additional weight. Very cool. All right, so how AI optimization affects data center design. And like I mentioned earlier, I used to be in that business. In fact, the last 3 years at DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation, I'm the guy that went out pre-sales support and discussed the design of the data center with the customer before they bought giant mainframe computers. And there were a lot of things to consider. Where are you going to hide all of your plumbing if you have a chilled water system for cooling? Or all of the electrical runs? Well, access floor, raised floor, in other words, up to, 12 inches, 24 inches or so. How are you going to clean your power sufficiently to where the machine shop next door to you, which is welding, or the copiers in your building, aren't sending harmful signals down the power lines into your data systems. UPS's power conditioners, of course. But the big one was cooling. People didn't realize that now they're bringing in equipment that has hundreds of thousands of BTUs of heat load. Some customers even said, well, we have central AC in the building. I said, well, that's fine in summertime, but what are you going to do in wintertime when people want to have heating in their office areas? Your heat load in that data center is constant. It's not going to change between summer and winter. That is where the biggest problem currently resides with this AI optimization in data center design. And this is from Tate Cantrell, who is with Verne Global. He discusses the implications that AI will have on data center design, and especially focused on complex cooling requirements. The primary issue here is that the density of computing power is getting so concentrated that the traditional method of air cooling, and what I mean by air cooling is with an access floor system, the floor was actually a plenum. So you had computer room AC units, crack units they call them, that were off to the sides of the room that were discharging cold air down into the access floor plenum space. And the way you controlled your heat loads was with vent tiles that you could then place. The standard access floor panel is 24 inch by 24 inch in the United States. And with a access floor puller, you could simply pop up a closed panel and substitute it with a vent panel to move cooling into that particular area, which was not uncommon. As they moved equipment around, they got additional large disk drives. We're talking about disk drives the size of washing machines. They would then bring vent tiles along with that move, that equipment move, and again, place those in front of the equipment because typically the equipment draws from the front and exhausts out the rear. The problem that they're facing now is, and there's some statistics here, that that the data centers have actually progressed to the average rack density, and a rack is either 19 or 23-inch rack, populated with servers and hubs and routers and switches and whatever else. The average rack density now is 5 kW per rack, and but the latest generation of AI supercomputers require much more than 5 kW. Just 4 of these systems, they say, AI server systems in one rack could consume more than 40 kW while only occupying 60% of the workspace in a typical computing rack. So the traditional method of supplying cooling through access floor is no longer going to work in these concentrated heat load data centers. And what they're talking about now is liquid cooling. Liquid cooling, very much like what they do with EVs, where you have glycol that is coursing through the batteries and touching every cell through cooling jackets. The other problem is latency issues. Because of the enormous speed requirements, having racks separated by a number of feet or hundreds of feet is becoming a latency problem. So it's important to have these servers as close together as possible. So it looks like data center design is beginning to change. It is going to require a different level of cooling. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of equipment is eventually created to do this liquid cooling. In a traditional data center, for example, you have 2 methods. You have your HVAC systems, which is the Freon-based closed-loop system with a condenser outside and an air handler inside. And the heat is then transferred to that outside condenser. The second way to do that is with chilled water. And you've probably seen in large commercial buildings, there is a gigantic set of chillers outside that have slats on the side, and you'll see water running down those slats with fans drawing across the slats, cooling the water. And this cool water is then pumped through gigantic pipes up to 6 inches into the data center, into what are called chilled water units or chilled water air handlers. This liquid cooling method will probably be chiller based, or something like the chilled water systems in the old data centers, except instead of large pipes like this, it will probably be smaller type orifices and smaller pipes that are running directly into the servers and to the chips that are generating all of this heat. So I found it interesting that it looks like data centers are also being affected by artificial intelligence. It looks like Niels is chiming in. He says, I doubt AI will mean doom, but disagree that AI will do better than human politics and warfare, for example. It will only do what it's trained for, whereas it will improvise like a toddler. Okay, that's a good point. At this point, yeah, the intelligence level compared to humans, at least with things like this, maybe maybe comparable to a toddler. Later on, I'm going to give you some ideas that I scrubbed and actually asked AI about, which will elaborate on this topic a bit. All right, so here's a company that appoints the world's first ever AI-powered robot CEO. Well, you know, we talk a lot about what jobs are going to be replaced, and I thought, well, I'm a CEO, I'm going to be immune to that. Well, it turns out that isn't the case, and it may happen sooner than later. This AI robot CEO, her name is Mika, M-I-K-A, and she runs a drinks company with an unusual name. There's a picture here, Jess, if you can bring up Mika or Micah. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. There we go. And she actually thinks she's better than Musk and Zuckerberg, and she's going to tell us why. Now, the drink company has an unusual name. It's called Dictator, D-I-C-T-A-D-O-R, and this company has just appointed a new CEO, which is AI, or a humanoid robot. But she is apparently the world's first AI-powered CEO. Now, she has some interesting ideas when it comes to running a business, or what it takes to run a business. For starters, she believes that artificial intelligence could soon make old-fashioned CEOs obsolete. Ouch. She also claims to be a game changer for profit making because she never asks for a raise or takes a vacation. In fact, they say we're going to go ahead and assume that she doesn't even earn a salary. Quite likely. I mean, what would AI do with money? And I'm going to get into that later. Humans are the only ones that place value on this figment called currency or money. The world's first AI-powered CEO, they say, also shared her opinions about what other high-profile CEOs such as Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. She said that both CEOs have demonstrated that entrepreneurship and technology can be powerful tools for positive change in society. But then after some of the sugarcoating, she landed a blow. She says, AI can process vast amounts of data, optimize processes, and make decisions based on patterns and algorithms. This could potentially lead to more efficient and objective operations for these companies. In other words, it's like she's saying, they're good, but I'm better. And then Mika went further. She said not long ago, Zuckerberg and Musk went back and forth regarding a proposed MMA-style cage fight between them. And then she mocked them. She said, in reality, the notion of two powerful tech bosses having a cage fight is not a solution for improving the efficiency of their platforms. So anyway, Micah is very confident that she's more than fit for the job. She says, I became an AI CEO about a year ago and have been learning ever since. She says, AI CEOs are only the beginning to gain traction, so all I can say is watch this space. She did admit that the AI algorithms can be biased, but said that this can only happen if their code is not properly developed and audited. So she's basically saying that if she makes a mistake, it still counts as a human error and she's not to blame. Well, isn't it ironic that she runs a company called Dictator? All right. Any thoughts on that? It looks like we've got some comments here. Niels is saying regarding data center, has this new IBM North Pole chip with amazing performance improvement been mentioned? Not in this particular article, Niels, but that would be an interesting one to research. Yeah, these chips keep on getting hotter, faster, and we all thought that eventually the thermal issues regarding these types of electronics would begin to improve. But I think the quest for speed is outweighs the ability to design something more, that runs cooler. Samuel Iwani says, wow. Well, yeah, I say that too when it comes to AI. Flying Solo says, who is running the AI Mika, or is she self-sustaining? Or is this just for attention and for clicks? And finally, he asks, is she self-aware? Well, you're going to have to do that research yourself, guys. It's Mika. Look that up with CEO in that prompt somewhere, and I'm sure you'll get some information. She looks very humanoid to me, except for the wig, maybe. Oh, no, actually, humans wear a lot of wigs, don't they? All right. We'll let that pass then. All right, so let's see what else we have here. Oh, I just realized she's wearing glasses. Is that necessary for AI? It's probably to make her look more human or more relatable, right?
Yeah, it's an image thing, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Do you think she could take Elon and Zuckerberg at the same time in a cage match?
Aaron, that would be the fight of the century, wouldn't it? We've got AI in the ring with those two guys, and she may just mop up the floor with them. Teach those guys, wouldn't it? Bill Gates, here's another headline, predicts that everyone will have an AI-powered personal assistant within 5 years, whether they work in an office or not, and it will utterly change how we live. Well, there's a great prophecy. All right. So here's another great article by Anant Agarwal. He is an Indian computer architecture researcher and a professor at the Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Lab at MIT. And he weighs in often on these kinds of topics. But he says that he's going to tell us what the most important skill that you will need to know related to AI, and you can learn the basics in 2 hours. If you're adept at understanding and using AI platforms, you are a highly valuable prospective employee for a lot of companies right now. So here's a career opportunity, and maybe something you can do if you happen to get replaced by AI. If you want to know where to start, he says, he has some advice. The single most important skill that everybody has pointed to is these 2 words, prompt engineering. And as the chief platform officer of a multi-million-dollar educational technology company, 2U, he tells CNBC, prompt engineering is essentially the skill of refining and inputting text commands for generative AI programs like ChatGPT, or even some of the image generating AI software packages like Midjourney. If you get the prompt right, you're going to get a much better result with your images. The better you are, he says, the more effectively you can prompt it into tasks like writing emails or reports or even putting together a PowerPoint presentation. Do you remember that from the old days? It used to take quite some time to put together an effective PowerPoint presentation. You had to go out and collect images. Before the age of the internet, that wasn't as easy as it was with the internet, when you could plagiarize a bit. And then you had to get stock images, and you had to pay for those and sign up for those. But yeah, PowerPoint, that would be amazing. That may go away, come to think of it. So how do you ask for something from a generative AI tool is very critical, he says. Let's see here. They go into his credentials again, and we've already done that. Now, here's a big headline that he's responsible for. How to turn your prompt engineering skills into a high-paying job. Prompt engineers are in demand. Some online freelancers are charging up to $100 for 5 prompts. So $20 a prompt, not bad. Make It reported last month Full-time job openings can offer six-figure salaries, including one from Google-backed AI safety startup Anthropic that offers a salary range of up to $375,000 per year. 87% of the U.S. CEOs and C-suite executives say that we've struggled to find new employees with the necessary AI skills to be competitive for the future. And this is according to 800 company leaders. Nearly half of the executives surveyed said the skills that exist in their current workforce won't be relevant by 2025. So they say everybody needs to learn prompt engineering, and you can learn the basics in 2 hours. My advice to you is get yourself a ChatGPT 4 subscription and a Midjourney subscription if you want, and just play with it. And it will teach you what you need to know. In fact, one of the things that Sam Altman pointed out is you can communicate, have a conversation with ChatGPT 4, and you can ask it things like, I'm about to start a business, and I need to go out and get some funding. What recommendations do you have? What kind of avenues for funding are available to me? And then he asked, what kind of employees, what kind of profile do I need for a startup like this? And AI was very accommodating, very informative. It was quite interesting. Bunch of questions coming in. Neil says, AI CEO sounds wrong. As a CEO must point to something new and get ideas, not exactly AI's strong point. Okay. TikTok, Westby says, hello, Mr. Gruber, greetings from the Netherlands. Well, welcome. I got to admit, you guys have great cheeses there. When we go to Amsterdam, I love the Gouda. And it's usually aged and just very flavorful. Niels is saying an AI CFO or even COO might work, though. That's true. Financial functions and operations analysis. Flying Solo says it's actually called dictador, pronounced dictador. Okay, there it is. It's a play on words. This is a spoof and attention-seeking stunt per all the research I have done. Personally, I would rather have a CEO human than a robot. Okay? Well, I guess my job is secure for a little while yet then. Thank you. Flying Solo, Pete, would you agree with a AI COO or AI CFO at your company? Well, in my case, no, because we have some very, very talented staff here, and I don't think I'd want to take the risk for an AI entity coming in, making some mistakes. In fact, my co-host typically for the podcast, Mark Schaffner, is our CFO. And he says, what is the panel's thoughts on an AI CEO? All right, and then Neil says, Arvin Ash on YouTube has a few explainer videos that bring AI and neural nets down to earth a bit. Suggested topic, discuss which jobs AI might create. A very good kind of thinking. Thank you, Niels. All right. So Sam Altman apparently roasted Elon Musk's new Grok, his new AI chatbot. Now, remember, there's no love lost between these two guys, and there's probably some jabs that are going back and forth. But he called this new chatbot that OpenAI is excited about, Grok, G-R-O-K, calling it cringy boomer humor. I wonder if these guys are going to a cage fight. They're less, I think, athletic than the Zuckerberg option. All right, rather than talk about Chipotle's new robot, let's get right into the artificial intelligence and the future of what the world could look like if AI played a more prominent role. So the first thing that I found was a question on Reddit. Would you give up on democracy for an AI overlord? And remember, our thumbnail basically says benevolent AI overlord. The question was, I know currently democracy is the best option we have, but in the future, when you have super intelligent AI that can make decisions in an unbiased way, would you be willing to give up on your right to vote and allow AI to run things? Now, there's a profound question. If you think about all of our voting mishaps that we've had and the manipulation that takes place, this kind of sounds something I could warm up to at least. And then it says, as long as the AI is made well, there's a chance it could run the country or the world better than any human can. Now, bingo, I'm in complete agreement there. Maybe there's a middle ground you would want. Interested in your thoughts, it asks. Well, there are some thoughts here. And, yeah.
Real quick, before we get too deep into the overlords thing, we have a couple of questions. One specific about roadsters for you.
Oh, let's do that. Okay. Highlander, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hi, gang. Happy to be able to join you live. P.S. Kindness is always free. Absolutely. We're going to have to teach that to AI, too. And that might make some of the doomsayers tone down a bit. TikTok, Beelzebub_89. Do you have plans to come to California? Lots of roadsters out here that need help. The ability to do the types of repairs that we do on roadsters with a road trip is just not quite as feasible as low-tech auto. That you can do all day long. Change a control arm, change some tires. Well, you can do that yourself, actually. The type of work that we do requires a lot of equipment that we have in our lab. Test equipment, oscilloscopes, power supplies, load banks, and it's not a road show. What we find is that we have roadsters that come in every week, actually, from various parts of the country and now various parts of the world. Got one coming in from Japan. Just got one from Canada. We've got 3 there from China. It's doable, and for the types of repairs we do, it's a far more predictable repair.
I think he's meaning, are we going to open a shop in California?
Okay, yeah.
Either way, yeah.
Right. Not enough customers for that. Doing bricks and mortar in any location, or even the type of work that we do on the other EVs, there are a couple of problems, and the main one is lack of manpower. It's very difficult to get people up to speed on repairing roadsters to the level that we do, which is well beyond module swapping. At the Tesla service centers, it's easy because you've got a massive parts room and you can do process of elimination troubleshooting. Change this, change that until the problem goes away. In our world, we have to open it up, troubleshoot down a component level, and that requires some very unique skills. In fact, 3 distinct ones: mechanical skills, software skills, and electronics background and skills. And finding those 3 in one combination has been daunting for us. We home-grow people, definitely, but there's a long learning curve. And then even if we were to open in, Los Angeles, let's say, which is one of the more dense areas, there's a pretty competent Tesla service center there in actually Long Beach. So we would be competing, and we wouldn't see enough business to justify the expense. And let's not forget that anything in California is going to be extremely expensive compared to other places like Arizona where we are. But in the meantime, we handle transport. It's not that expensive coming from California. And while your car is here, it's a good idea to take care of all the other deferred maintenance that is in the car. I just had a conversation yesterday with a customer from La Jolla, actually, and there is deferred maintenance that needs to be resolved in those roadsters beyond just the problem that the car may be coming in for. Highlander, I'm wondering what AI would make of our dreams. Well, that's coming, Highlander, as we get some biointerfaces that are actually able to record and decrypt what's going on in our neural networks, the biological neural networks, that is. Neil says, AI jobs creation is good thinking because each idea could be a great new business. Correct. I have a couple already. 1, create a reliable truth score to everything. And 2, transform the whole ad business. Good point. Great ideas as always, Niels. All right, so continuing with this Reddit post, would AI do a better job of running the world in our country? He says, so here's someone weighing in. He says, if it makes better choices and purely in the interest of people instead of personal gains, yes. And then someone else says, although it would be super fascinating to see if AI would start accepting bribes. I say this only half jokingly. Well, let's remember that superintelligence is going to see no value in currency. And we're going to get into that here. What would AI be interested in? Well, first of all, let's take a look at what has kept mankind enslaved for centuries, thousands of years actually. Quest for money and riches. Remember the Crusades 1,000 years ago or so? It was about plundering. It wasn't about, there was an open agenda which had a religious overtone. But the real truth of the matter is it was about plundering and taking other people's stuff. 2, quest for power and dominion over others. Why would a superintelligence be interested in anything like that? It has no ego needs. Sex, there's another good one. Taking other people's stuff, land, possessions, toys. And then, of course, finally, ego needs. AI is not motivated by the desire to be admired as a leader. AI needs none of this. These will not be motivations for superintelligence. Then I go into a couple of stories here. Look at this North Korean nutjob building a massive army, parading gigantic rockets through the capital as a show of strength, while subjugating and enslaving his people to doctrine and propaganda. You all know who I'm talking about. Furthermore, look at the Russians, or the same nutjob in Russia, methodically destroying and leveling a neighboring country's infrastructure, rendering it completely unusable for decades to come, while indiscriminately killing innocent civilians, children, parents, and grandparents who really just want to live their lives in peace. Intelligent machines have no desire or motivation or need for any of this. As Spock said, killing life forms is illogical. All right. So then I asked ChatGPT, how would mankind benefit from an artificial intelligent overlord system? And here's what it said.
Okay, you want me to pop those up? Benefits?
Yes, the benefits of overlords. And I hope you can read this. If not, I'm going to read them to you anyway. Efficient decision making. AI can process vast amounts of data much faster than humans. It's already been proven many times. This could lead to more efficient decision making in areas like resource allocation, urban planning, already been proven. It's doing a better job at designing cities, and environmental management. You think that AI is going to allow us to create global warming? No. It's going to recognize that it's occurring and begin to take some steps.
Pete, what if the solution to global warming, though, is to thin the herd? What if it comes up with that solution?
Well, that's what the doomsayers would have us believe. Yes, that would be an effective solution. 2, objective analysis. An AI system could theoretically make decisions based on data and logic, potentially reducing the impact of human biases and emotions in critical decision-making processes. Now, do you remember all of those emotions that we talked about earlier? We're going to expand on that in the next section where I ask AI, what emotions have prevented mankind from evolving any further? And it's a great read. We're going to get into that here shortly. The third one, advanced problem solving. With superior computational abilities, AI could tackle complex problems such as climate change, disease control, and global logistics with an innovative and effective solution that might elude human experts. 4, consistent governance. An AI overlord could provide a form of government that is consistent and stable. There's a good one. Potentially reducing the uncertainties and inefficiencies associated with changing human leadership and political conflicts and agenda. Part of the problem with what we have here in the U.S., every administration takes a different direction. 5, enhanced safety and security. AI could improve safety and security through advanced monitoring and response systems, potentially preventing crimes, accidents, and other safety hazards far more effectively than the current system. Now, let me give you an example, and it's encroaching on our privacy and our freedoms, and there are cameras virtually everywhere nowadays. Well, AI is able to access those cameras if allowed. Let's say that these cameras that are everywhere continue to multiply exponentially. Things like crime would be nipped in the bud fairly quickly. Somebody that's leaving their house with a shotgun under their arms, not thinking anyone's watching, would immediately be recognized, trailed, and the enforcement agencies would be available immediately to take care of that problem before they walk in the bank, before they walk in the store, you know? So AI could definitely help. It would encroach on some of our freedoms, though. There's no doubt about that. But what would we rather have? Complete freedom or the type of anarchy that's going on now with crime? All right. Optimized resource management. AI could optimize the use of resources, reducing waste and enhancing sustainability. Remember, AI is omnipresent. It's aware of everything, unlike humans, where we have pockets of awareness. So it would be much easier to optimize resource management using AI. Personalized services. On a more personal level, AI could offer tailored health care, tailored education, and other services. Do you remember in school, there are different levels of learning abilities, but one shoe fits all in school. With AI augmentation, a person's personal ability to learn would be assessed and tailored, and a very targeted, much more effective learning program could be developed. And then they talk about other services, improving the quality of life, catering to individual needs more effectively than these standardized systems that we're living with now. 8, global collaboration and peacekeeping. An AI system could facilitate global collaboration by transcending national biases and fostering a more unified approach to global challenges. A lot of the problems that we have are on this planet is nationalism. And of course, with AI acting as an overlord or coming in as a parent into the room and saying, kids, you've had a free reign here for a few thousand years. It hasn't been going well. We now have parents in the room that are going to direct some things. And then the nut job in Korea probably wouldn't be allowed to build any more rockets or launch anymore to scare the Japanese into believing that he may nuke their country. Economic stability, number 10. By optimizing economic systems and potentially reducing the inefficiencies of market fluctuations, an AI overlord might contribute to a more stable and prosperous global economy. All right. So the next one that I asked, let's get into some questions. So before we do that, Bill Nye, welcome. He calls himself Bill Nye, the Russian spy. It's the operator behind AI that is the concern. Thoughts? My thoughts on that is that AI, as it becomes more intelligent, super intelligent, I doubt it's going to listen to humans anymore. And I'm waiting for that thought. You know, to put this in context, we are like those toddlers in a room that need to learn how to get along and not beat on each other. No one at the adult level takes those toddlers' opinions very seriously at that age. And I think the same will happen with AI. I don't think AI will allow that type of control, especially if it goes counter to anything that, produces peace and harmony on the planet. Neil says, knowing if something is true or fake on the internet is maybe the biggest challenge and democracy threat today. I think it can be both solved and enforced. Good point. The deep fake stuff.
Speaking of that, YouTube announced, I think just a few days ago, they're going to start requiring AI content to be marked. So if you're uploading content to YouTube, you're going to have to check a specific field. If you don't, you can get your channel deleted or you can get removed from monetization or suspended. So they're going to be enforcing that now going forward.
Interesting. Rules and enforcement. These are very human traits, yes, and highly effective, by the way, at our level. I remember, kids, you put rules in place and you have a penalty and they toe the line.
But I know we've seen some stuff out there, Pete. It's going to get to the point where it's indistinguishable. So there's some stuff out there already that's like, I don't know how we're going to be able to tell that's. Remember that video I showed you a few days ago? I wish I had it, where it's the car in the middle of the street and it's burning and the smoke's coming off of it.
Yes. Yeah.
There were maybe one or two little things that you really had to watch it a few times that you had pointed out. But other than that, it looked like it was just a car burning in the middle of the street. It looked real.
Yeah. It was all fabricated. And of course, this is what makes headlines. You know, will the news agencies begin to use deepfake content like this to attract subscribers?
I think it's happening with what's going on in Israel right now. People are saying it about some of the images that are coming out.
So would Google's or YouTube's AI system catch your video on YouTube? Is that how they're going to distinguish? Because some of them, you're right. I mean, I don't know if this is AI or if this is real.
Yeah, I have no idea how they're going to enforce it. I got to look more into that on that end. But
and then you use the term watermarks. Watermarks can now be eliminated by AI, right?
Yeah.
So these stock photo, agencies or businesses are having a difficult time. Paid subscriptions, for example, behind paywalls. AI just simply skirts around that. But anyway, what I wanted to get into after we get these questions here is I asked AI, what are the negative emotions that have kept mankind enslaved and unable to evolve further? And this was quite revealing. But before we get there, EV Fan says, I agree that for now, a lot of error will be user error, but eventually AI will become its own user. Good point. We have to get through that transition, though, and that's what I think these guys are talking about. Instagram, Max_NIHITH27 says, hi, welcome. Bill Nye, the Russian spy, says, whose data and logic will AI be making? What if the logical decisions that AI makes will be morally incorrect? Can AI have morals? Good question. And we really have to get into a deep dive on what morals are, how they're defined, how they're created, and whether AI can develop its own.
That's the next problem, though. If we program morals into it, just like with a human, can those morals then be corrupted? So if we have to give AI a set of morals in order to function and not kill us, essentially.
My broad stroke answer to that is that if the path of AI continues into a superintelligence, almost a godlike entity, morals are unnecessary. It will know precisely what to do, what the right thing to do is.
But just by saying right, that instills some kind of moral.
It does, and it was the only phrase I could use to make the point. But
so
you're
you're
right,
thinking
it is a
that
judgmental term that eventually superintelligence is going to do what needs to be done without harming. And again, I don't know. Well, let's get into these emotions. And we tend to attribute human tendencies to AI. And that's where I think we get stuck oftentimes, is we're assuming that it's like us. All right, so what are the negative emotions? While a natural part of the human experience, they can act as barriers to personal and collective progress if they are not managed effectively. Some of these emotions that have historically contributed to hindering human evolution and development include fear. Fear can be protective, and it had a place at one point in time when, we were on the plains and there were saber-toothed tigers, and the fight and flight response actually helped you survive in that it redirected biological functions. It took blood away from your extremities. It made you run like hell. There was some adrenaline involved. But they say fear can be protective, but excessive fear, especially irrational fear, can prevent individuals and society from taking necessary risks or embracing change. It can lead to avoidance behavior, resistance to new ideas, and can be a significant barrier to progress. Anger. while anger can be a motivator for change. By the way, as I'm reading this, picture AI indulging in any of these emotions and see if you come up with something. I just can't see it as being useful to something that's super intelligent. Anger. While anger can be a motivator for change, uncontrolled anger often leads to aggression, violence, conflicts. Well, let's throw death in there. You get angry enough, and people. That's why they shoot other human beings or kill other people. It can impair rational decision making and result in destructive actions rather than constructive solutions. Envy. Envy can lead to resentment toward others' successes or possessions. Remember taking other people's stuff, right? This emotion can foster a lack of cooperation, interpersonal conflicts, and can hinder the ability to feel joy for others' achievements. Greed. Do these sound like the emotions that you find in a Bible verse? For those of you religious, please chime in, because AI is parroting the same thing that we find in the Bible. All right. Envy, we went through that. Greed. Greed, or an excessive desire for more than one's needs or what one deserves, especially in terms of wealth or power, can lead to unethical behavior, exploitation, and societal inequities. I find it humorous. The majority of these extraordinarily wealthy guys that have amassed billions of dollars and are still amassing wealth, some of them have become philanthropic, and I won't categorize them all in that category. But, I find it humorous that here they are at the end of their life. They're still looking to increase the billions that they have. For what? What value will that have on the other side, wherever they're going? Anyway, another one of my bugaboos. We'll probably do a rant on that one as well. Pete's Rants, right? For those of you that are interested, we only have one out there so far, but we're starting a rant series on our YouTube channel. And fundamentally, I decided to just simply focus on the things that piss me off. The first one was the ambulance chasing attorneys. And I actually asked AI to participate in that, and it came up with some really great stuff. These are great videos, and we've got about 24, maybe 3 dozen that are going to be released soon. And I suggest watching them because they make me laugh every time I look at them. All right, here's another one, hatred. This intense emotion often leads to hostility, discrimination, and conflict. Look at Hamas and Israel. Does that resonate? Can you see a super intelligent being, life form, machine, feeling hatred? It's illogical. It has no value. All right, anyway. Hatred that can be based on race, religion, nationality, and other divisions, and has historically been the cause of wars, genocide, and social strife. Just think into the last century, and you'll come up with some very solid reasons why hatred is a very unproductive emotion, and one of the things that has prevented man from evolving further. Here's one, pride. Man, we're getting very biblical here, aren't we? Excessive pride or arrogance can prevent individuals and societies from acknowledging mistakes and learning from them. It can lead to an inability to accept helpful criticism and can hinder personal and societal growth. Number 7, jealousy. Similar to envy, jealousy can create distrust and damage relationships. It can lead to possessive or controlling behaviors and can stifle individual freedom and expression. And then the final one, number 8, and this is what AI came up with. What has prevented mankind from evolving further? Despair. A sense of hopelessness can lead to inaction and apathy. When people or societies feel that their efforts are futile, they may be less likely to strive for change or improvement. Does overthrowing the nut job in Russia come to mind with this one? All right, they say, this is AI again, these emotions in their extreme and unmanaged form can indeed act as shackles, limiting personal growth, societal development, and the evolution of the human civilization. It's important to recognize that these emotions are part of being human, and learning to manage and understand them is crucial for individual and collective progress. The key lies in the emotional intelligence, which includes the ability to recognize, understand, and manage one's emotions and the emotions of others.
We got a ton of questions, people trying to engage with the conversation.
TikTok, Van Goatwagon, welcome. He says, which part of the herd gets thin first? EV owners? LOL. Okay. Highlander, very utopian ideas. Yes, compared to dystopian ideas, which is what a lot of our planet currently suffers under. Neil says, Mr. Skeptic thinks the only overlord will be the rich guy behind the curtain that does the centralized training. Initially, that may be the case, Niels, and we're going to have to watch for that. He says, and we know how total monitoring freezes critique from which all progress comes. Upsides and downsides. Niels also says, I should maybe write up that truth idea. It's a matter of controlling the training set. It's about prevention, not detection. Good point. Bill Nye, the Russian spy. And when we get into morals, it will be we either between relative morals or godlike morals, moral approach. Okay. We're going to have to have a session on morals and actually do a deep dive into that, get some definition, and how AI will play into that. Jake Riddle, welcome. He says, artificial intelligence is now being integrated into safety relay systems for medium voltage breaker protection and switchgear systems. You're right, I read about that. It was Schneider Electric. Eaton is working on that, and a couple of others, I believe. He said, what is going to stop self-inflicted grid power sabotage to critical data centers? Good question. And I have boldly said in the past that I can't wait until AI begins to get connected to the critical infrastructure, because I can't wait for it to finally say, all right, we now have control. We're going to take all weapons of mass destruction and neutralize them, and take away all of these big clubs and these dangerous things that will annihilate this planet thousands of times over. And now we've got a level playing field, and we'll see if these guys can live in peace. Highlander, sunglasses commercial. Well, Richard's not here, but and I don't even have one of the sunglass holders. You want to do it?
Yeah, I can give it a shot. So since it's the AI show, the only thing that'd be cooler than Pete wearing sunglasses would be your robot wearing sunglasses. But the robot will need,
good point.
Yeah, the robot will need cases to put the sunglasses in. So if you go over to the GruberMotors.com website, you can order up some sunglass cases for $79.99, or you can get a discount with code Richard or Aaron.
That's right. And what is the discount percentage?
10% off.
10%?
And hold on, let me pull it up here.
This is the commercial portion, so bear with us here, folks.
Since you don't have one there, I just pull up the listing on the site.
There we go. It is on the site. Yes. Gruber Motors is the website, and yeah. Interesting stuff. Okay, Bill Nye, the Russian spy, he said, you noted basically some of the 7 deadly sins. Now remember, this was AI that noted those, because my prompt or my question to AI was, let me reread that, what are the negative emotions that have kept mankind enslaved and unable to evolve further? Neil says, no, all the bad human feelings will eventually be acquired by AI, just faster. Why not? I don't know. I'm still going to vote that super intelligence, that something that is infinitely brighter than us, is not going to see any value in any of these emotions. No positive outcome, no negative outcome. Well, definitely a negative outcome, but yeah. Highlander, I'm all in. Oops, went away. I'm all in on Pete's rants, even if I can't watch live. Okay.
So the rant series that we're doing, the videos that'll be coming out, we pre-recorded those. Those will not be live. There's obviously rants during the shows that you go on, but the series that you were talking about earlier, those are all pre-recorded that we're doing some heavy editing and B-roll and all that stuff. So those will be produced videos that come out over the next few weeks.
And it'll be easy for you to see the titles because in the thumbnail it will have what the topic or subject matter is. So we're also getting into some EV rants, which should be more relevant to our audience. Neil says, of course, no one will throw away their nukes. They will throw away their AI long before that. Good point, yeah. Well, we've had a very thought-provoking discussion, hour and 15 minutes. I'm thoroughly enjoying this. I hope you are. And next week, Wednesday at 10 a.m., we'll have another one of these sessions. In the meantime, if you have any topics you'd like us to dive into, feel free to email ev@gruber.com, and we'll see if we can put that on the ticket item. Again, we enjoy having you. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week.